And we're pretty excited about it because at the Pro Tour, he drafted a 5-color legendary deck, which was absolutely absurdly powerful and good, playing cards like Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. So let's take a look here, and he's opened some pretty good ones, including In Bolas's Clutches.
Yeah, that seems to be the pick to me. It's a head and shoulders above everything else in terms of power level. It's a single color card that's going to go in absolutely any blue deck that you play, so Sam's got to be thrilled to open a powerful, reliable card like that.
Other good cards in the pack, too. I mean, a Memorial to Genius, obviously we're not first picking it or anything like that here, but it's a great card in that it doesn't take what we call kind of like a slot in your deck, so you can kind of draft it at no cost.
Precisely, yeah. The upgrade of Island into Memorial to Genius is often going to be a lot larger than the upgrade from marginal playable to different marginal playable.
Ooh, Arvad the Cursed, and a Verdant Force in here. A Time of Ice, a Thallid Soothsayer. Wow, these packs have been kind of awesome, Reed.
Yeah, wow. I love that we're watching Sam in particular in this seat, because Verdant Force is the type of card that a lot of players are going to be scared to move in on it early. It's super expensive, but I was going to say Sam is not afraid to do unusual things, but looks like he sticks with an on-color card, Time of Ice. A little bit of an unusual card in its own right, as that it's not always obvious how powerful Time of Ice is going to be until you see it in action.
Right. Some pros I've heard are kind of down on the card generally, except in the right kind of build.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to have to talk a little bit quieter as we are kind of near the feature match area. So if we are keeping our voices a little bit lower, that's why. All right, let's take a look at what Sam has opened up here in pack number 3. All right, well, this one a little less exciting, Reed. Is anything kind of sticking out to you as a direction that he might be interested in going?
No, it's a weaker pack, which means that it's an opportunity for Sam to either take the draft in a direction that he likes. If he likes a particular pairing with blue, he can move in that direction, or he could just take an average level blue card to continue keeping his options open.
Relic Runner, how do you like that card?
I don't like it very much, but it's worth noting that Sam has 2 historic cards already in his pile. Every card he's drafted before it is historic, plus Time of Ice lends itself to an aggressive tempo-based blue deck, so especially given the pack was a little weak, I can't fault him for taking that one.
Ooh, and there's a Raf Capuchin here in this pack.
Right, so here's the payoff for Sam working to keep his options open and stay monocolor, is now he gets to see a powerful gold uncommon and take that as a direction for which color to go into next.
I don't know about you, but I'm always terrified if I see blue and white and at least 2 mana open that a Raf's coming at me.
Absolutely, you got to think twice about attacking with those 2/2 creatures.
All right, so not a bad start at all to Sam Black's draft here. U.S. Nationals, split format, so we played Standard this morning, and now we're on to Draft. Tomorrow we'll kick things off with the Draft again before heading back into a couple more rounds of Standard before our top 8. All right, let's take a look here, see if there's anything for Sam. There's a Serra Disciple and a Blood Tallow Candle that he has pulled to the front.
Pretty weak. Serra Disciple is not a great card, and neither is Blood Tallow Candle, but Sam is putting together a pretty coherent blue-white historic Flyers tempo kind of deck, so we're going to see if he can put together a package that makes average or below average cards into something effective.
And you mentioned, he's already got a couple of things that can trigger the historic spell +1/+1 on the Serra Disciple as well.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Okay, so again, these packs are weak for Sam. He's not super excited about anything that he's gotten outside of that Raf Capuchin, but there's some interesting things he might be able to do with this, including taking Tragic Poet, which could pair with the Saga, or that Artificer's Assistant, which is yet another, flying creature that gives him a benefit. He's playing a lot of historic cards.
Yeah, pack's kind of drying up a little bit here for Sam. There's a Voltaic Servant in here, an Arcane Flight, but not a lot. There's a Charge.
So Voltaic Servant is another just, average level card that triggers historic. And then Arcane Flight is a card you'll sometimes see blue players speculate on early because it's such a great pairing with Coldwater Snapper, the 4/5 hexproof.
Oh, yes. How happy have you been with this kind of blue-white flying historic deck, Reed?
Not that happy, because the cards are really low impact in their own right. Stuff like Artificer's Assistant, like that can be good in the context of a great draw, but if you draw a few too many lands, you know, 1 mana 1/1 is not really pulling a lot of weight for you. However, it is a good way to make use of some particularly powerful cards like that Wrath and that Time of Ice. It's a good way to use cards that otherwise are not usable, that other players won't want. And it can be a good way to steal games even against really strong decks with the flyers and the tempo advantage of stuff like Time of Ice and bounce cards.
I was a little hopeful that he would pick up Joda there, but it's going to be another Artificer's Assistant. Knight of Nubnalia in white here, as well as a Befuddle. But yeah, I can't say that these packs after our first couple have been particularly strong in any color.
No, yeah, Sam isn't getting necessarily hooked up with blue and white cards, but he has not had a turning point moment in the draft where he would have strongly considered moving to a different color.
Healing Grace, the pickup here as we round out pack number 1 of our draft.
Sam took a Befuddle over that Knight of Nubnalia, really indicating that he doesn't like the 1 toughness ground creatures. I would have expected him to take the 2-drop, in case he has to play with Arcane Flight.
Or if he gets a Pegasus Course or something like that.
Yeah, exactly, if he has ways to force through blockers, but he wants nothing to do with it. He just took Befuddle instead.
Invoke the Divine is a nice pickup, though.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty late, too, and a signal that white could be open.
And there's that Tragic Poet came back around anyway. And we'll get a chance here now to take a look at what Sam Black has put together here in pack number 1. Overall, he's got a few very powerful cards, and then the rest are just pretty meh, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I would be inclined to agree with that. If I'm Sam, I'm absolutely thrilled to have the In Bolas's Clutches and the Wrath, and then feeling okay that I have a clear path I'm trying to go down and got some white cards late, but in general, the power level of his middling cards is quite low.
So when you're drafting this deck, what do you want to be on the lookout for most of all?
Well, I would say the cheap rewards for casting historic cards. In particular, one common I want to talk about is the Diavenant Trapper.
Oh,
3
sure.
mana, 3/2 that allows you to tap an opposing creature when you cast a historic card. That's not a very strong common. Not many other players at the table are likely to be interested in it. But if Sam gets it and he's able to pair it with enough of those short swords and legends and sagas, then he can have a nice, lean, aggressive deck that's able to continue attacking through opposing blockers.
And you brought up a really interesting point of this deck kind of relying on all of its pieces to come together to be powerful. We've got the Serra Disciple, we have the Artificer's Assistant, which are allowing you to scry, but only if you cast a historic spell, these kinds of things, which if it comes together can look really awesome. But if it doesn't, if it draws the wrong half of its deck or something like that, can fall a little short versus decks that are like green, where I'm just playing a 4/4 for 4.
Right. Yeah, Sam might be toying with the idea of a lower land count, like 16 is very much on the table, maybe even 15 if his curve winds up low enough. But that in itself creates a fail rate when you're playing a 2-color deck and a low land count. You don't always have both your colors. But it could work out well if he's able to use those Artificer's Assistants to help smooth his draws.
The power of the Burb. What is your favorite archetype to draft in Dominaria?
Personally, I like black-green Saprolings, but I kind of like drafting black-green in every format, so it didn't take much convincing for me. But I really like the ability to defend yourself well and just, choose sort of whatever late-game card advantage or win conditions you could have access to. Yeah,
and if you get a hold of a Slimefoot, a lot of times that card's just a little win condition in and of itself at 3 mana.
Absolutely. Slimefoot is for black-green what Wrath Capation is for Sam Black's draft here.
All right, here we go. Pack number 2. This is a unique experience, actually, seeing a pack opened in a coverage draft.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Black solidified himself pretty solidly in white-blue in pack number 1. We'll see if he is able to pick up some more cards in his colors.
Yeah, he's sort of, painted into a corner here in the sense that if he does change colors or archetypes, a lot of his middle level playables are
Right.
going to become just completely unplayable. Like, you're not going to put Artificer's Assistant into a blue-black control deck or a blue-green ramp deck or anything like that. So if he did want to change colors, he would sort of be starting from scratch with just those couple of really strong cards that we had talked about, the Inbolus's Clutches, for example.
And that's an important risk to keep in mind when you're drafting at home, too. Just because these cards are in your color doesn't necessarily mean they go in the style of deck that you've been drafting. A lot of times you might think, oh, well, it's fine. You know, I've got all these blue cards. Well, turns out they don't do anything unless you're playing historic spells on top of it as well.
Right, it's not just colors, but also archetypes in a complex draft format like Dominaria.
Sam Black as well, playing at a really good pod here at Nationals. Brian Braun-Duin in this pod, as well as Seth Manfield and Pro Tour champion Dominaria Wyatt Darby, all in this pod.
Definitely.
All right, Naban, Deed of Iteration, and it's got some good cards in this pack too.
So a couple really strong blue cards, but not necessarily the ones that he was looking for his particular archetype. Doesn't look like Naban has that many combos for him so far, but Merfolk Trickster is just a super strong card for virtually any blue deck. That Skittering Surveyor is an effective historic card that could allow Sam to splash a color if he wants to later. And then he can also think about taking that Eldest Reborn, which is the strongest card in the pack, only single black, which means it is splashable if he gets Skittering Surveyors later. However, it doesn't fit that well if he does what we had just been talking about, the lower land count, super aggressive blue-white deck.
Yeah, so he's going to take Skittering Surveyor here, which I think is a great pickup. You mentioned the historic angle of it too, which shouldn't go overlooked, especially in the kind of deck that Sam is drafting. And just when you play a Skittering Surveyor on 3, you feel great.
Absolutely. I think was the disciplined pick from Sam's pack there. He could have branched into a different color or taken the slightly more powerful double blue Merfolk Trickster, but I think Skittering Surveyor, guaranteed to be good, helps him have more functional draws and could put him in a better position later in the draft if he does see something he wants to splash.
All right, the pick from this pack was Juggernaut, passed on that Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. Come on, Sam.
He knows he can get that on the way back.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So that's actually a card he played with at the Pro Tour.
Yeah, it is.
Maria, do you have any idea how many legends you need in your deck to play Primeval's Glorious Rebirth and Mox Amber?
I feel like he had all of them opened at the table. It was unbelievable. Ooh, Tashar here in this pack.
Oh, this is an amazing payoff. This is one of the best cards. Short of getting a Teferi or a Lyra Dawnbringer, short of one of the top 10 cards in the set, Teshar is just absolutely perfect for what Sam's trying to do. He has a lot of cheap creatures. He's focusing on flying. He's focusing on historic. He's already got Wrath Capation, which is a good pairing with it. So this is just exactly what Sam wants, and takes his deck from maybe a little below average to something that he's potentially excited to be drafting right now.
Whenever you cast a historic spell, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from a graveyard to the battlefield, and that is a lot of his deck. Ooh, Naru Meha's in this deck. There's in this pack. There's an Academy Drake in there too, but Naru Meha, nobody ever expects her.
No, you talked about Wrath being a surprise flash creature, but Naru Meha is a mythic rare, so people are a lot less used to playing against her. And man, is she powerful. Again, Sam doesn't have a tremendous number of wizards, but even just pumping up one creature +1/+1 at surprise value, that can be really strong. And it doesn't take much to copy for this to be super strong. Like, you might see Sam picking cards like Opt higher because of Naru Meha.
All right, there's another Time of Ice. How do you like his deck running a couple of those?
It's not my favorite card in the world, but Sam absolutely has the deck for it. If there's anyone who's interested in Time of Ice, it's Sam, and these are going to really pull a lot of weight in his deck, as he's going to be trying to race, attack with flying creatures while defending himself from the ground creatures.
Another Serra Discipler too doesn't sound bad right about now.
No, Sam is putting himself in a great position to use those weaker 1/1 flying creatures. Oh, wow.
How about Karn's Temporal Sunring? But there's a Davnon Trapper in here too.
Oh, he's got to take the rare here. We picked the wrong one to feature at the at the start of the draft, but Karn's Temporal Sunring is only a hair's breadth weaker than Jaya's Immolating Inferno. You're going to win a tremendous portion of the games that you're able to cast that card. And Sam is already, what has he got, 4 Legends or something like that?
Yeah. Oh, an excellent pickup. Karn's Temporal Sundering. Oh, I hope we get to see this card be cast in one of his matches. There's a Deep Freeze and a Rona hiding out near the back.
So having picked up the Skittering Surveyor and the Legendary Sorcery, Sam is a lot more interested in this Rona than he would have been 5 minutes ago. However, you could see him just take Deep Freeze as, maybe a sideboard card or a 23rd card. Also think that Sparring Construct is not completely out of the question, but I like Sam's decision to pass up some marginal cards in favor of the higher reward Rona, Disciple of Gix.
Yeah, excellent in his deck as well, specifically. I played at the sealed portion of Vegas, and I had a 2 Rona deck.
Very nice.
My pool also supported it very well. It was pretty neat. All right, kind of rounding out pack 2 is Slinvoda. Why not? Get in the pile.
He's going to curve all the way from 1 with the Artificer's Assistant to 10 with Slinvoda.
Voldalian Arcanist here. There's that Merfolk Trickster all the way around the table, Reed.
Yeah, that's a real gift. It looks like Sam is definitely in the right colors here. So he's getting late stuff in white and blue.
The Trickster is definitely a card you need to think about as well when you're playing against somebody who's got a couple blue mana available, because it can be a blowout despite just being a 2/2 itself.
It really does a lot. It can take away flying from an attacking creature. It can make something that would otherwise have resilience killable.
All right, we're going to pick up a Merfolk here. And there's that Opt you mentioned him maybe being interested in. Sure enough, he adds it to the stack.
Yeah, that's going to be a slam dunk. It's a great pairing with Narumeha. It helps him set up his combos, including the Legendary Sorcery. He's probably going to cheat on his land count at least a little bit, and Opt is a good fit for anyone trying to do that.
Tolarian Scholar is a card that, sometimes you're interested in it. It's kind of a wizard if you're interested in a potentially surprise pumping it up with Narumeha, but he's going to take the Power Stone Shard here.
I think that's just Sam, the way Sam is. He can't help himself with a card like Power Stone Shard, particularly after getting the Slinvoda, but I think he really should have taken Tolarian Scholar, particularly because he has the mythic rare wizard and could pick up Academy Journey Mage in pack 3. Tolarian Scholar is not exciting, but it is a functional creature that pairs with some of the stuff he has and could get.
And here's a Board the Weatherlight, which was the last card in the pack. Is that potentially going to make his deck?
Just like Time of Ice, it's not my cup of tea, but if there's a deck for it, it's this one. You can pluck the Karn's Temporal Sundering off of it. So if that's going to be a big part of Sam's game plan, he could consider playing Board the Weatherlight to either find it or help set it up.
I want to ask specifically about Karn's Temporal Sundering. This is a card that's flashy. I mean, the art by Noah Bradley is awesome. It has an effect that a lot of players love in Magic, taking an extra turn. But the thing is, you've got to be set up properly for it. Talk about what you need to do, and it's not only putting historic or legendary cards in your deck.
Well, the Time Walk is going to be more powerful the more crowded the board state is, and the more you have going on yourself. So the best case scenario, which Sam's whole deck plays towards, is to have a close racing situation where you can go bounce your blocker, get 2 clean attack steps, and almost always that's going to be enough to win the game immediately or shortly thereafter. What you don't really want to do is have nothing and have to start your comeback by casting Karn's Temporal Sundering. But I don't think that's going to be a problem for Sam's deck in particular, as he does have all these cheap creatures and the ones that can attack through opposing blockers.
You mentioned Bounce, and Blink of an Eye is definitely something he's going to be looking for in pack number 3, wouldn't you think?
Definitely one of the stronger blue commons in Dominaria. Sam would be very pleased to pick that up. I mean, it would be an okay first pick, but definitely second or third. He would love to see it.
Overall, how happy are you with what Sam's put together?
I think pack 1 was kind of poor, but pack 2 was amazing. The 2 4-drop legends and the Karn's Temporal Sundering, he's going to win a lot of games with Karn's Temporal Sundering. So I think Sam now has the top of his deck. The best, 5-6 cards are fantastic, and he's done a great job in building a coherent strategy where even his weaker cards are going to play their role and make for a really well put together package.
And you can see there he was kind of showing his going through his 2 packs that he'd already drafted and placing them kind of in curve order, holding them in his hand, which I think is very smart, and I don't know if I've ever seen anybody quite hold them in quite that manner to really visualize what your curve is looking like and what you're going to want to focus on in pack number 3.
Almost as though you were drafting on Magic Online.
Right? And that's the thing with these drafts, too, that are called at this level. You can't just continually look at your picks like you can on Moto, or if you're playing in a store sometimes at a more casual event or drafting with your friends. It can be tough to remember specifically what you have already drafted.
Yeah, and that's a big deal for the deck Sam's drafting here, because he's trying to put together a well-oiled machine. This is not some deck that you just throw any old blue or white card in and hope for the best. He's got Teshar, so he wants to be keenly aware of how many 1, 2, and 3 drop creatures he has. He's got to keep his historic count high. He wants to be aware of how many legends he has, what's his mana fixing, if he can and should splash that Rona. So there's a lot of things that Sam is juggling in his head, and that can be challenging when you're only dealing with a 45-second review period and can't look at your cards between picks.
I've only drafted at this level 1 time, and I remember absolutely panicking somewhere around pick 3 or 4, and I could not remember what I had picked first and second. It was terrible read.
It's like a bad dream. Like you just wake up and you shake your head, and you're in a draft, and you're like, "Oh my god, I don't know what I have already."
Yes.
What colors am I?
That's exactly what it was. It's the worst draft I've ever done in my entire life, by the way.
Yeah, I struggled with the timed drafts where you can't look back at your picks when I first started, playing these competitive live tournaments. And what I did to help myself get over that was I would draft on Magic Online and I would just minimize the window so I couldn't look at my cards between picks. That's something that if you really want to challenge yourself and force yourself to get better at this particular style of drafting, you can turn to that.
All right, here we go. Pack number 3 for Sam Black. Putting together a white-blue historic deck. A lot of very good cards in the deck. It's very synergistic. I'm going to see if he can pick up something here in pack number 3 to round it out even more.
Yep, we talked about how every Dominaria pack has exactly 1 legendary card, so Sam's going to really hope that it's in white or blue.
And the chances are, better than sometimes other colors, as white was pushed as a legendary color in this set.
That's right. If you have Karn's Temporal Sundering, white is likely the best color to pair with. Sam's already got some nice stuff.
And I'm a fan, I've got to say, of these decks that kind of require a lot of moving parts to kind of work together in order to make the power level higher. So I'm pretty excited to be able to watch this deck play out in the feature match area. We're going to have another draft that we're going to watch after this, by the way. We're recording 2 more drafts. We'll see how many of them exactly we get to watch based on the time that everything takes to turn around in this room. But we're recording 2 other people in this pod, like we mentioned. A pretty strong pod. Brian Braun-Duin in the pod with Sam Black, as well as Seth Manfield, and our Pro Tour Dominaria champion, Wyatt Darby, as well.
Yeah, particularly because you're going to see other drafts from this pod. Viewers at home might be interested in who's sitting where in this pod, so I have that for you. Passing to Sam Black is Brian Braun-Duin, so that means Brian is to Sam's right. Then downstream from Sam is passing to Chad Sarkis, followed by Wyatt Darby, Dylan Brown, Zach Powell, Seth Manfield, and Jacob Tilk. And then completing the circle, Jacob is passing to Brian Braun-Duin.
All right, here we go. Pack number 3 for Sam Black. All right, the legend happens to be red and white. It's Tiana.
Yeah. Some strong cards in this pack, but Sam struck out in terms of finding a rare or a legendary card that he really wants. Divination is just a really good card in Dominaria. It's not the absolute best in Sam's deck.
And he opened a Siege Gang Commander, too.
Yeah, he picked up the Skittering Prospector, Skittering Surveyor that he could splash off of, but sadly the Siege Gang Commander is a double red card that he just can't have any interest in.
He's going to actually take Vicious Offering here, and he does have a Rona and a Skittering Surveyor, as you mentioned, so it looks like this black splash is becoming more of a reality here for Sam.
Yeah, I think he's still considering. He's going to see how the draft goes. If he gets no more mana fixing and a lot of nice cards in white and blue, then he might skip it, but we'll see.
All right, so there's a Yawgmoth's Vile Offering in this pack and another Skittering Surveyor. So I think he's interested in the Skittering Surveyor and hoping this Vile Offering might make it back around.
Yeah, this is you see, we're going to see what
Yeah.
Sam Black is made of here.
Look
I
at
don't
this.
I don't know if he can resist the second legendary sorcery, but he can.
All right.
Impressive work from Sam with this very disciplined pick, passing up the very, very high level Yawgmoth's Vial offering. But he's just thinking, you know what? I can't really play it if I don't get the fixing, so let me put the fixing into place.
And the Skittering Surveyor, even more valuable in his deck than it usually is, being triggering his historic cards. Weight of Memory here. Nice card draw spell. Jaya was in this pack too.
Yeah, if somebody downstream of Sam is drafting a red control deck, they're going to be pretty pleased with the Siege Gang Commander and the Jaya Ballard.
And it's definitely a card to keep note of, the Siege Gang Commander as well, because we are playing in a pod here. We're not doing a league, of course, on Magic Online, so we've got to remember what we're passing around the table too.
It's a great point, Maria.
All right, so Weight of Memory is going to be added to the pile here for Sam Black. There's a Gideon's Reproach, a Jousting Lance, and another Trapper in this pack too, as well as a Deep Freeze. Some good stuff.
I would not take Jousting Lance. I would be choosing between Diavenant Trapper and Gideon's Reproach, but Sam, I guess, just really focusing on keeping his historic count high, pairing it with those low-power flyers to create a more potent threat.
Jousting Lance is a card that surprised me, for sure, but I think I'm more excited to play it like in a Sapperling deck or something.
Don't get me wrong, it is strong in Sam's deck. I just felt he needed a little more meat on the bone, so to speak, in terms of keeping his creature count high or having a cheap removal spell, cheap answer card. And now he's got 3 equipment for a pretty low creature count. I would be worried. I would have taken probably Gideon's Reproach before and then opt from this pack, round things out a little nicer. I would be worried if I'm Sam about getting stranded with too many, sort of fringe cards, non-creature, non-removal cards, and not having the bodies for them.
You do need soldiers to carry the weapons of the armory here. 2 short swords and a Jousting Lance. Ooh.
That's perfect.
Daring Archaeologist.
It doesn't fit his curve super well, but it does fit his theme impeccably, and it's just a super strong card at that. Could easily envision that getting up to 6/6, 7/7 in Sam's deck.
Okay, so excellent pickup here in pack number 3 for Sam Black in the white-blue historic deck that he's putting together for us today. Sage of Latinum here.
Interesting. Good pairing with those short swords and with the Daring Archaeologist, but I'm not sure if it's a little too fancy. We'll see.
Trying to make the decision here between that and the Blood Tallow Candle.
The Sage also strong with the 2 Skittering Surveyors.
That's true.
I think I like it. I think I like that card in Sam's deck.
And this is a card that a lot of people love and can be excellent. And in Dominaria, I don't know if I've actually ever seen anybody cast it. Tiana comes back.
Wow,
Antiquities
the Antiquities War. That's going to be tempting. This is a spot where I would love to pick up my cards, look back at exactly what I have, because the Antiquities War is going to be really strong if you have like 8, 9, 10 artifacts, but pretty unplayable if you only have 5.
All right, so he's going to take the Tiana here, potentially keeping it out of the hands of another player. Sentinel of the Pearl Trident. Oh, excuse me, that was the last card. Here's our opening Tiana.
Yeah, I think Sam should take Relic Runner here. He another cheap evasive body that pairs great with all his equipment. Yeah, I love it.
Yep. Is there a thought in your head that maybe my Skittering Surveyor should be splashing red instead?
Well, with the Legendary Sorcery and getting no legends in the 3rd pack, Sam is really, really concerned with the number of legends he can play. But I think Rona in general is a stronger card than Tiana, and he also has the Vicious Offering, so I wouldn't bother with the red.
Yeah, and she wants auras as well, which isn't what we're doing in this color pair all the time. Okay, so Halar here is going to be what Sam takes from this pack. Once again, not interested whatsoever in that Knight of New Benalia.
Pick up the cards and have 15 seconds.
Blessing of Belzenlock, Skirk Prospector. Just kind of the few remaining cards of our packs as we round out the draft here at our U.S. Nationals tournament. Flame of Keld, Gaia's Protector. Oh well, we didn't get our other legendary sorcery back, unfortunately, Reed.
No, that's in the hands of someone else, either to be played or kept safely in the sideboard.